What's up YouTube, it's RZ, I'm over here in the Gobuku Studios, and I'm bringing you our Fire Force Episode 6 review. This one's titled, The Spark of Promise. Pretty emotional stuff going on in this episode today, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So the episode opens up literally right where the last one left off, where Shinra just gets into Hibana's, base of operations, and Charlie Angel ripoffs, even though only one of them survived last time, three of them come to attack him and he just knocks them out with one hit. Pretty much that's how we start the episode and go right into the intro scene. And right after that, Shinra comes to confront Hibana, who has Iris on the floor with her, and pretty much they go right into a battle. I was surprised that was the premise of the episode. I thought there was going to be more to it, but it's pretty much a battle between Shinra and Hibana, as well as the immense lore of Hibana and Iris that we'll get into later in the episode. So last time, I will apologize, I did get her powers wrong, but not like I could have known that. It's not like I read the manga or anything. I thought she was using some flower power to make Shinra get all dizzy. No, she uses something called heat syncope, which apparently, the best way to describe it is it just gives you vertigo. You just go dizzy, you go crazy. Well, not crazy, but you're just numb in the head and then you fall down. So she uses it on him again. He's powerless to stop it. But then he, out of sheer willpower, Shinra is able to get up from it, and essentially he's like, I'm a hero in my head, so it doesn't matter what you're doing in my head. I'm going to be a hero and I'm going to get up and start fighting you. And I was like, what kind of, I don't understand the actual scientific reason behind that, but whatever. So Shinra gets up, he does this cool ability behind him, and it's it's part of his feet attack, but it's some fangs or something, or a blade, and he goes right in to try to attack Hibana, and obviously he didn't learn from last time. She can just stun the dude whenever she wants, so she does that again. He goes flying into a freaking place in the back, like a throne or whatever, crashes into that. And now we start getting into a lot of flashbacks. Oh, before that, Hibana actually creates a sakura tree out of fire, which I'm like, whoa, this is pretty dope. And the fire, the petals that fall from the sakura tree can actually burn you just on contact, which I was like, whoa, that's a pretty good power. I don't know how much damage it does, but if it just burns you even slightly and causes discomfort, that could throw you off in the middle of battle. But now we get a lot of flashbacks with Iris and Hibana. Turns out that, well, I'm not 100% clear on this still. Someone, please, if you're in the comments, let me know what you got out of this episode. It looks like the fire that happened was an accident. It wasn't Hibana's cause. It wasn't Iris's cause. It might have just been spontaneous human combustion that happened to someone, and then it burnt the entire place down. Maybe we'll see more of that in the future. I don't know. But that's what the entire episode focuses on, is Iris's point of view of taking in what happened there, and Hibana's point of view of taking in what happened in there, and seeing how they contrast with one another so heavily. Essentially, Hibana and Iris were back in the old church. I think they call it a convent. I don't know. And pretty much, she was saying that she doesn't really believe in the god stuff. Even back then, she didn't believe in it. And with the whole soul thing. Essentially, Hibana just always thought of humans as something that should reach salvation a different way, by getting more powerful. If you're not powerful enough, kind of process of evolution. If you're not powerful enough, you get left behind in the dust. Meanwhile, Iris, on the other hand, always felt that you can get salvation from just believing in God, the classic religious type thing. And it's really interesting to see how both of them contrast with one another in their ideals and everything from back then to now. So Shinra gets up, and essentially what happens is he pretty much goes to attack Hibana, but not before she does a crazy fire Sakura blizzard move to attack Shinra. And I was like, whoa, blizzard and fire together? That's pretty interesting. But it's pretty much just becomes a tornado of Sakura petals. Shinra gets, pretty much engulfed in it. But again, through sheer willpower, somehow the dude survives it. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And he goes to, pretty much stand up to her, but not before trying to relate to her. Shinra says, I lost my family, people I loved, to this type of fire. So I know what you're going through. And I know that you're someone experiencing loss, but this isn't how to cope with it. You should still try to be good. This is where we learn something interesting about Hibana. It's actually touched on later, but I think I'll bring it up now since they're already fighting. Is that Shinra essentially says his power of being a devil, being nicknamed the Devil's Foot, he uses it for good, to help people, to be a hero. Hibana, on the other hand, she's saying her powers come from pretty much hell itself, so she's no better than a devil, and because of that, she should be evil. She's meant to be evil. She's meant to look down on humans and all these other things that she continues to say throughout the episode. And it's pretty interesting, again, to see the contrast of two characters butting heads, essentially. And Shinra has I don't know, I guess this is his thing where he calls himself different names. He specifically, as he goes in with his fire feet, not to kick Hibana, but to punch her in the face, he says, he said, "My name is Snap That Princess to Her Senses, man." I was like, what is this guy even saying at this point? I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of interesting that he's going all in on that joke. We go to another flashback after this, and we see the reason why Iris loves flowers so much, especially in, I think it was the previous episode where you saw her like reaching for flowers. It's because Hibana is actually the one who used her fire to create like these illusions of flowers, kind of like she did with the Sakura tree in the battle. And essentially what she would do is use like different elements like sodium, copper, etc. to, I guess, make them engulf into flames, but in like a, I guess, I don't know, pretty kind of way for the nuns to kind of have a way to escape from having to believe in like all this religious stuff all the time. It's just something fun. Needless to say, Iris back at the church was very shy. She seems kind of shy now, but she seems more outgoing. But because you can see that back then she was very shy, and you get hit with the feels here because she goes and talks to Hibana, and whoever the voice actress was, I forget who Iris's voice actress was, but she does a really good job at portraying being very young, and very cute and all that stuff. And it was a really heart-wrenching moment there when you see her say that she just wants to see the flowers again. And Hibana essentially tells her, once you stop being shy, you definitely can do that. Like, I won't have any qualms against it. And I was like, oh man, that's hitting me in the feels right there for sure. Let me jump back to after Shinra punched Hibana in the face. She's on the floor in Iris's lap, and it's kind of weird that that's the way the fight was won after all those crazy powers with the fan and all that stuff was shown, and she's done with one punch. If you've ever seen a certain magical index, that's kind of how the main character freaking destroys everyone. It just punches them in the face and they're down. I'm like, really? I didn't expect that, but okay, whatever. Then we go back to another flashback, and you can see what's happening here. We're jumping back and forth a lot. To where it shows Iris, well, it shows first Hibana working her way up, using her research to get these scientists or whatever to give her funding for at Hajima Corporation, to give her funding for Fire Force Company 5 and all that stuff. And then you also see Iris essentially saying that Hibana was her hero. She was the one that Iris would look up to, the reason Iris would get up in the morning and do her daily routine, because she had motivation. Hibana is essentially like, I don't have that. I never had that, and that's why I guess I am who I am now. And then Shinra comes in, he's like, hey, I'll be your hero. He says it pretty seriously too, though. He's like, anytime you need help, I'll be there. Just call my name. But it seems like she could do a lot with the freaking, what is it, the fire syncope or whatever it was? I already forgot the name of it. The flame syncope. Yeah, like honestly, I just feel like she could do way more than Shinra ever could in the first place if she needed to defend herself. But that's besides the point. From an emotional standpoint, I get it. And then you see that apparently now Hibana takes a liking to Shinra. I was like, oh no, where is this going? The age gap between them looks pretty crazy. But then again, it is anime. So for all we know, Shinra could be like 20 something and Hibana could be just like 16, even though she looks that old. I don't know. Anime logic there for you guys. And then finally, Iris gets her wish. Hibana shows her actual irises in her using her fire magic. And pretty much it's just a coming of full circle with, keeping the promise. And Iris is not shy anymore because she came there herself to essentially, to see Hibana on her own. And that is pretty much the episode. It kind of ends abruptly there, but there's more to it. After the credits roll, we actually see some more happen where Iris, they're essentially cleaning up the mess of Fire Force Company 5's invasion. And now Hibana's pretty much a good person, so she more than likely will fight in the future for the Fire Force Company 8 if they need help, which will be interesting to see. But we see that the whole thing was actually a setup. It wasn't them actually trying to fight Fire Force Company 5, more so an investigation that was set up by Akitaru, who is in the background, and we will see him in a bit. But before that, Iris suggests, hey, why don't we just tell Fire Force Company 5 to meet with Fire Force Company 8, have like a dinner party or something, and everyone can just essentially make up, be friends and whatnot. And Hibana's like, yeah, I'll just tell him it was a setup. It was gonna be a surprise attack, just test the skills, blah blah blah, and everything's reconciled, and pretty much more hinting towards Hibana liking Shinra. I'm hoping this isn't like an actual relationship, because that's gonna be kind of weird, but we'll see. And finally, you get Akitaru, who is ready. This guy's gearing up. He got freaking sake in his hand. This dude is drinking the sake, doing something like Orin for Final Fantasy X, spitting it onto a rocket launcher, getting ready to go in and fight. He calls the chief and is like, yo, I'm ready to go investigate Fire Force Company 5. I'll tell you all the details when it's done. Calls Takeharu, is like, Lieutenant, I'm ready to come in, ready for the backup. And they pretty much finished the mission. So that got a good laugh out of me when Akitaru is pretty much surprised at the fact that everything's already done and over with. Some takeaways from the episode. I feel like Hibana, they never really wanted to portray her as a bad person, but give her, I guess, morals that, or not morals, but goals that could be interpreted as an evil villain. You know, she essentially thought her power was meant to be used in a bad way, didn't know how to not really control it, but didn't know how to, I guess, manifest it into being a good person like Shinra has done with his power, using it for a good cause. Whether or not that's moral or not, you can really debate it, because Hibana at the end of the day did attack humans and didn't care about them, still probably doesn't care about them, and is gonna be a masochist, but or is it masochist? I forget what the actual term is for the person who does it, but whatever. So I love the flashback stuff. I was one that advocated for seeing more of Iris and Hibana in the future. We got that right after in the next episode. The problem is it cut the pace of the battle so much. I thought we were going to have like a boss battle where Shin was going in, and it's like going to be his feet attacks versus like the fire fan. When she started summoning the Sakura tree, some crazy stuff was going to happen. Didn't really get too much of that. We got like one kick. Shinra gets pretty much stunned for the most of the battle, and pretty much the flashback comes in and just ruins any like suspense that was building. Granted, it was really good stuff, and we know more about Iris and more about Hibana. Not 100% everything, but we know a lot more. So whether or not you wanted action versus lore in this, I think that's going to clash a lot, and definitely lowers the quality of the episode overall for me. But at the same time, I can't really knock it too hard for that. Still not 100% sure what caused the fire. I'm assuming it's spontaneous human combustion, because at the beginning of all the episodes now, they're essentially saying some people fear death, but no one understands what spontaneous human combustion really is. You know, they have like the intro with the skulls now, so I think maybe they're trying to drive in the point that that's what's causing people's lives to be ruined. And more than likely that's what happened, but if anyone knows 100% if that is the case, let me know in the comments what caused the fire at the church in the first place. Also, Shinra, I can understand why a lot of people are kind of iffy on this anime. It is following the trope of main character has immense plot armor and can just power through anything. I really hope they don't go that route with Shinra. I want him to actually struggle, to actually have to fight, and not just miraculously out of nowhere, you know, oh, I believe, so I'm gonna be the guy who can power through everything. I want him to face some struggles, to have flaws, to have things that he has to overcome and use his powers to do, to get through, instead of just being like, well, time to move on the plot, so I'm gonna just power through this and attack you with one punch, and that's gonna be it. Hopefully we see more of what we saw in episode 1 and 2 from Shinra. But overall, great episode. On the emotional side of things, it really knocks it out of the park. If you love emotion in your anime, you're gonna love this episode. If you liked action in this anime, if you like action in your anime, you're going to be slightly disappointed here. There are some cool things, cool techniques being used, but at the end of the day, a lot of it's overtaken by messy pacing, or I wouldn't say messy, but flawed pacing, to where I feel more or less they could have cut some stuff out, or because they kept showing the people burning over and over and over again. They showed the reaction with Iris and Hibana over and over and over again. They could have just shown it once or twice and done the other flashbacks, like with the flowers and all the other stuff, and showed more action. But they really didn't, and I honestly don't I knocked the episode a bit for that. But overall, very good episode if you love the emotional scenes from your anime. The next one is called Investigation of the First Company. I'm hoping we see more of Tamaki and other characters from there, because Tamaki's powers definitely look very interesting. And also, I mean, fan service, so every person is going to love that watches the anime. So, yeah. With that being said, though, that was my review of Fire Force episode 6, titled The Spark of Promise. Next week I'll be back with episode 7's review, and we'll see more about what's going on with Fire Force Company 1. And with all that being said, this has been RZ. I've been here at the Gobuku Studios, and I'll catch you next week for the next review. Peace out.